All right, so appreciate everybody jumping on here today. We're going to go ahead and get this webinar started. Like I said, Kara said we had a large crowd, signed up for this, and we just wanted to give everybody a couple extra minutes, whether they're coming back from lunch here on the East Coast or getting kickstarted in the morning on the West Coast. So with that being said, again, good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you guys are at, and welcome to today's webinar to go over the foundation bill pay system, which is a simplified vendor payment solution. My name is Dylan Kilpatrick. I work here on the client sales team at Foundation. Many of you guys have probably worked with me in some way, shape, or form, or at some point in the past. I go to all of our shows, whether it be our Foundation colleges or our Converge conferences. I'm out at our trade shows as well. And my primary role here is to work with our current clients, primarily nowadays on the payment functions that can improve, workflows, and kind of enhance, how people are using Foundation. So, our vendor payment service is the next piece that is going to be getting added into this Foundation Pay platform that our clients are super excited about. What we're going to cover today on our call is going to be, first off, we're going to just give a little bit of a product portfolio overview of Foundation in general. Then we're going to go through a bill pay, overview. It's just kind of a high level of what the bill pay system is. And then we're going to follow that up with, a walkthrough of the system as well as a Q&A of everything. So let's go ahead and jump into the product portfolios. As you guys know, Foundation is ever growing. We have the job cost accounting, and our HQ suite, that's project management, HR, safety, our payroll for construction system, which is a payroll service, which our bill pay system is kind of like our P4C system, which is if you'd like us to take over your payment processes for AP invoices, just like P4C does for payroll, and cutting checks and doing everything on the back end. That's kind of what this is going to look like. We have our estimating softwares here for both McCormick and Edge, and our timekeeping solution, WorkMax. Specifically on the bill pay, this Foundation Pay is the newest component of the Foundation Pay system, which is an add-on service to the Foundation accounting system. The main focus, for the last 8 or 9 months has been on the corporate card and expense management, which is our streamlined way for receipt capture, coding, entry of credit card transactions with imports into Foundation. This bill pay system is going to be getting added into the Foundation Pay platform. It is a full service automated payment solution that's going to allow you to streamline your payment selection directly out of Foundation, which can help you with reduction in time it takes to process AP and checks and payments, and also reduce a lot of fraud risk as well, which we'll talk about. It's fully integrated to Foundation. It's consolidates different types of payments into one workflow, and it allows your vendors to choose how they get paid without you guys having to track that down. Email remittances, there's a two-way sync. It's very, very nice. So what I'm going to do is jump into Foundation. I'm going to chat through what I typically have heard as how people typically pay their AP invoices right now. I was previously an implementation specialist here at Foundation, so I have a pretty good idea, and through my demos, of what people's current processes are when it comes to managing their payments. So I'll talk you through what I hear the typical processes, what the problems that I hear with those processes are, and then how Foundation's bill pay system can help alleviate that. So right now, you guys are getting AP invoices into the system directly into Foundation, which I will say, I'm going to show a little sneak peek of something that we have coming up for AP automation. So for those of you that stick around for the entire session, which shouldn't take any more than 30 minutes, you will also see a sneak peek of one of our future products, which is our AP automation solution. But for the beginning portion of the session, I'm just going to focus on invoices that are already in Foundation and the payment processes on the back end. So when people go in and they pull their aging report and they look at what invoices are currently outstanding, and then they take this aging report and they figure out which invoices they'd like to go and pay by selecting invoices for payment. They usually will, most companies do mostly checks. So I find that majority of the people I talk to are doing a lot of printed checks. Someone's selecting them, they're printing them out, posting them, postage, sending them through the United States Postal Service. Maybe you have some vendors that will accept payments via credit card, or maybe you guys have even started to convert some of your vendors over to ACH, in which you guys have to gather their payment information, account number, routing numbers, set up file uploads or direct links to bank, or maybe you guys are typing it into the bank directly. So now we have three different payment options when it comes to AP invoices. Someone on your team is managing all of those payment options to those vendors and selecting them on a weekly basis and making sure that people get paid in a timely manner. Your contractors or your vendors, get their payments in the agreed upon terms. With our bill pay system, we consolidate that selection process into one simple, streamlined option, which is just selecting bill pay here. So no longer do you guys have to, print the checks, or select for printed check or the credit cards or ACH. You just simply select bill pay, and then you will go and do your same selection process that you're already doing inside of Foundation. So you would come in here and you would select the invoices that you would like to run through the bill pay service. You can see I have a handful of invoices that are selected here already, but it's built directly into Foundation. And when you go through and post that transaction into the system, it is going to kickstart the vendor payment process. It pushes directly over to our partner Corpay, and we use their vendor network to pay the AP invoices. What's nice about this is you fund the payment invoices to Corpay, and then Corpay then funds those to the vendor through their vendor network. Corpay has a very strong and established vendor network with over 1 million vendors in total and a very strong construction focus. We've had Foundation clients working with them for years. One of the first integrations I set up with Corpay when I was a trainer was probably 5 or 6 years ago. And how it worked previously was you would select in here for a payment with your AP. You would export a file to an Excel sheet, and then you would upload it to Corpay separately. So you were getting the benefits of a Corpay vendor payment service, and I'll talk about what some of those benefits are, but you had to do it manually. None of the information then fed back into Foundation. So it was very disconnected, even though it was a nice service. What we've done more recently is fully integrated that selection process and posting process to where we can actually push payment, vendor information, invoice information directly over to Corpay, and then Corpay then triggers their process to reach out to vendors and push payments to the vendors on your behalf. So you go through your similar selection process for payment. It does not matter how this vendor is going to get paid at the moment. Corpay handles all of the back-end process in terms of onboarding, uh, banking detail verification, as well as just reducing the burden on the back end. So you guys don't have to worry about if they get a check or if they're going to take a virtual card or if they're going to get ACH. Corpay then takes all of that on internally, and they flip and make the vendor payments on their end. So your vendor can choose how they would like to get paid, and it's not up to you to figure out figure that out preemptively. So once that selection process is done, you guys then go through and go to your prepayment register and verify that all of the selections look good. So we would take a look at this. From a prepayment register, okay, it all looks good, selection looks good. We have a total posting of $21,300 there. So, another thing I like to point out with our bill pay system is this is also going to make reconciliations easier. So right now, when you post into the system, you're reconciling your bank statement against Foundation, and you're matching out every single line item for every single payment. With our bill pay system, what we actually do is we consolidate that to one line item when it comes to posting the payment. Because you fund the entire batch of payments all at the time of posting, it's going to hit your bank statement with the automatic ACH draw for the batch as one line item, and we will reflect that in Foundation. So if you guys do weekly payment runs, you may be reconciling 4 or 5 line items per month instead of hundreds of line items per month when it comes to a standard reconciliation where you're reconciling against every single payment. So you make sure the selection looks good. We go ahead and print payment, or go to the print payment option there, really the post payment screen here, and you put in a payment posting date, hit report, and then you post those transactions into the system. And then once it's posted, it will push over to Corpay, and then again, Corpay will then trigger the payment process there on their end. Payments, depending on time of day, will get issued same day or the next day. So they do turn around payments pretty quickly. And once that payment is issued, it will populate here into our bill pay portal where you guys will be able to see all of the scheduled payments. And then once they have been paid, you will get a copy of the remittance right here. Your vendors will get emailed the remittance immediately upon the payment being issued so that they have a copy of that information. This would be detailed with your company information logo, so it's very apparent to the vendor as to who they're getting paid through. You're getting paid through Corpay, but it is, on behalf of the company. So it would have your guys' company information, logos potentially, and all of the proper invoice information. If you guys have account numbers, dates, discounts, so on and so forth. They'll have a direct link to reach out to Corpay for any issues regarding that payment. So if there is any kind of issues with lost payments, Corpay then handles those reissues, so on and so forth. So this will get emailed directly to the vendor automatically, but again, you guys will retain a copy of this remittance. So what we've looked at so far, selection process out of foundation using one simplified method. You go through your same selection process in foundation and post. Once it's been posted, Corpay then turns around and pays those vendors via card, ACH, or check. We do not force any vendors into taking any particular forms of payment through our bill pay service. So it's up to the vendor as to how they'd like to receive payment. And again, you guys do not have to source that. So what actually happens when Corpay issues that payment is if they've not in Corpay's network, and they've never been paid through Corpay, they will receive a check initially, and then Corpay will reach out to try to get them to sign up on ACH or virtual card or take alternative electronic payments, which can be faster and more secure. Even if they do stay on a check, it is really nice that Corpay handles the payment of those checks. It comes out of their account, meaning the checks actually get sent without your guys' account and routing number. So if you guys have to do positive pay file uploads right now, or have dealt with fraud risks or lost checks, they handle and take on all of that responsibility and liability at the time of you posting on a foundation. So, if you guys, and I've heard this over and over again, that United States Postal Service has really been struggling to make sure that the, mail gets there on time, which is causing delays and issues with your vendors. This process, if they, get that vendor payment via check, it still may have some of those issues, but again, if it does get lost or stolen, it doesn't fall back on you for fraud. So there's some fraud protection there, protection there. And again, if they get an electronic payment, very, more easily secured and signing up directly through Corpay's completely compliant portal with verification and such. The information from that payment that is made through Corpay does trickle back to Foundation and is available within the reporting sections in Foundation. So all of your same AP reports are still going to be available just like they are now. So even though you guys aren't the ones physically issuing the payments to your bank or even to the vendor via check or anything of that nature, it'll still feed back into Foundation as to what was happening with that payment. So if you ran like an invoice history report and wanted to pull that for a specific date range, you would be able to still come in here and see the invoice that came through and that the payment was made, and it'll denote that it was a bill pay payment. And you also will still get a breakdown of how the vendor did get paid and the status of that payment, so that if you get a call and someone's asking about the payment, is it cleared, what's the process for this, you still will be able to come into like this bill pay status report and see a breakdown. So you can actually see that this hasn't been fully processed just yet, that last batch that we just prepped and sent over. It's scheduled, but you can see that the ones before that have been processed, and it pulls back in the actual check information with reference numbers, and it tells you the method of payment in which they actually took. So if it's an ACH or a check, a virtual card, you guys still get that information back inside of Foundation. And with that reconciliation that we talked about earlier, even though you're reconciling the batches of payments within your bank account and against the Foundation reconciliation on the cash account, it will still show you a breakdown of those batches in your report. So makes reconciling your accounts easier, but you still have really good visibility over what was in that batch, and then again, how the vendor did decide to get paid. Again, with their choice of payment, which is really nice. So, some of the benefits of this system, again, to just do a little bit of a recap here, streamlined selection, using, straight in Foundation. You're not, exporting any files or uploading to third-party sites. It's allowing you to push the payment through and offload the payment responsibility again to us and our partners over at Corpay to make that payment. It's going to get rid of positive pay files since the checks are not getting cut out of your account. It's going to make for easier reconciliations. And again, if you are one of those companies, and I hear this a lot, that is still doing 90, 95% checks, or a majority of your payments are via check, it offloads the entire check cutting process. So no more printing checks, no more posting them, sending them out through the system into the United States Postal Service, which can definitely be a huge time saver. The people that are using this system already, either whether it was through Corpay directly or through our integration, which we've seen some people making the transition over to our integrated product, even if they were already previously using Corpay. I've heard some people say it's offloading 40%. They're saving 40% on their AP time in terms of processing. The two-way sync is really nice because we're pulling information back and forth. And then also you guys aren't the ones that are responsible for choosing or figuring out how the vendor would like to get paid. It's a fully managed vendor service integrated directly to your foundation accounting system. And again, we partnered with Corpay because of their strength in a vendor network and their quickness of their payments that they issue through the system. So that is a nice, quick little rundown. I'm going to get into questions here in a moment. So if you do have any questions, go ahead and start putting those in the chat. Before I get into those questions, I do want to mention one of the last and also sometimes one of the most important benefits of the system is if Corpay, and your vendors sign up to get paid through Corpay via virtual card, you guys will share in the cash back that comes back through those virtual card payments. So Corpay on average typically converts about 10 to 20%. That's using foundation clients that they've worked with in the past and more recently as the average, which means that they believe that they can convert about 10 to 20% of your total AP. And then you guys get a portion of that virtual card spend back as a cash back. So we find that oftentimes people are offsetting the cost of the system in as a portion, or they're actually generating almost some revenue through this cashback system by offloading this process. So not only is it going to save you time, streamline the selection process, it is also going to potentially get some cashback and rebates flowing back in your guys' direction as a benefit of the system. And as those questions flow in, again, I do want to take a quick second here to introduce, or just give you guys a little sneak peek of our AP automation solution. So we talked about earlier, invoices at the moment, as of February 25th here, invoices will still get entered through Foundation and populate that aging report before they kickstart that selection process, posting, and then Corpay issuing the payment. You would still need to enter invoices in the same manner. With this system, you will actually, with our AP automation solution that we're going to be adding, it gives you the ability to upload invoices directly to our Foundation Pay platform. These invoices can be uploaded, as a drag and drop if you guys scan an invoice in or get a physical copy of an invoice, or even if you get emailed an invoice, you can forward it into the system with the email address that would be custom set up to your guys' company. Or if you have like an AP at constructioncompany.com, as an example email, if you guys have something like that where invoices will get emailed to you guys there, and then your, AP person is taking those and entering them into Foundation, we can set up a forwarding rule to where those invoices will be routed directly into our AP automation tool. And what the system will do is it's actually going to scan this using AI and extract the data like your invoice numbers, vendors, dates, amounts, line items. It's like having an intern take a first pass at this invoice and extract the information. This is not like an OCR template. It is using AI to scan, and it's a dynamic search. So it doesn't really matter what invoice format it is. It will read that and extract the data. And then it's going to allow you to route for coding in terms of making sure GL accounts are entered properly, and then adding any kind of job cost details if those are needed. So you can code with your Foundation data. That data will be synced from your Foundation accounting system and actually pushed into here. And then lastly, we can then route these for an approval process where the approver can fill out workflow details, or they can enter the transaction or just approve the transaction, I should say. So we're super excited about this. We're expected to have this AP automation tool ready at the end of March. I'm really thinking it's going to probably be like early April. So here within the next 30, 45 days, we're hoping to have this rolled out in terms of our AP automation solution, which will push, once, all the way through the system and approved, it will push directly into Foundation as an enter invoice, which will allow you to list and post those transactions straight through your list, which would be populated here, and it will come over with images of the, invoice attached to document imaging, and be ready to post. And then, ideally, you have both parts of the system, the AP automation and the bill pay. Then once it's in, you guys can go through your selection process and turn around and pay those invoices off. So again, just giving a little sneak peek, I will say if there's any specific questions on AP automation, we are going to go ahead and skip those in the Q&A, just because the tool isn't quite out yet, and we'll be focusing on the bill pay portion of the system for vendor payments. But like I said, just wanted to kind of introduce, since you guys spent some time here, to sit in on this meeting to kind of chat on this. So I'm going to go ahead and populate back up my Q&A screen here. That will have my contact information. We're also going to run a quick poll on the screen, which will just say, if you'd like to be contacted with some more information on, either our bill pay or get on our interest list for AP automation, select one or both of those options in the poll, and we will reach out to you with some more information there. So we're just kind of getting a gauge. Again, if you'd like to be contacted on both, we can do that. If you'd like just AP automation, go ahead and denote that. Or if it's just bill pay, also put that in the poll. And then again, I'm going to jump into the questions and answer some of those, and then we'll get out of here on the webinar today. So one question here, and I'll leave the poll up and running, but I'll just start jumping into them. Looks like we have a question. Is there a maximum number of payments that can be sent per month? So the question is no. You can push as many payments as you need. So if you do a weekly cycle, that's fine. If you do a daily cycle where you're paying invoices off, every single day, completely fine as well. The volume of payments you do run through the system does affect the cost. It is partially volume based. The cost of the system is different on a company by company basis. Someone doing 10 payments per week versus someone doing 100 payments per week, it's going to pay a little bit, more or less, depending on which company you would be. So it is volume-based system in terms of pricing. To get specific pricing, again, we do have to kind of go through a little bit more information when it comes to getting specific costs. Other thing I do like to mention, because I do see another question here on this, is if you do need to run a payment internally, like you still need to cut a check internally or print something out or process a credit card, invoice payment or something of that nature, or something that you're going to handle not through the bill pay system, you guys still do retain the ability to make payments directly through Foundation. So good questions there. What is the process? So let's see. It says, what type of work is involved with the beginning of setting up Corpay? So, and I do see another question here, which is, what is the cost of Corpay? So for pricing on this stuff, you do run directly through us to get signed up with Corpay with our exclusive partners. So you do not need to reach directly out to Corpay and get like a demonstration or pricing directly from them. We can, handle pricing and get you signed up directly through our system with the bill pay. Again, they're just kind of our back-end partners that work on this stuff. And then, in terms of vendor enrollment or getting enrolled in the system, it typically takes about 4 to 6 weeks to get up and live. As a portion of the onboarding process, we will run an analysis of vendors that you guys have paid within the last 12 months, and we route that through the Corpay platform. And we run an analysis to see which vendors are already in the network and not in the network, and how likely they are to sign up with a virtual card. And then Corpay, along with our onboarding and training team, come up with a strategic plan to reach out to those vendors and make them aware of this process change for you. So it's not like we're just going to turn this on one day and your vendors are all going to be confused and reaching out to you with questions. We do some preemptive work to get this process rolling so that your vendors are aware of the process, and we try to get as many of them signed up with electronic payments as possible. So we do kind of run through an onboarding process there preemptively. I see, some of our clients I've even gotten emails from where they have links in their, signature that say, hey, we've partnered with Corpay for vendor payments. Use this link to sign up with electronic payment. They can kind of go in there and sign up with Corpay. So there's a variety of different ways that we can kind of get that word out and share it with your, vendors during the onboarding process. And then Corpay, again, does a lot of the heavy lifting when it does come to the onboarding and getting people signed up with different forms of payment. So we will work with you initially to kind of make sure that it goes smoothly, and then on an ongoing basis, you just process it through, and CorePay will just handle it. And again, there's really not much to say. Like a question is like, how do we sell our vendors on this? You guys don't have to worry about that. CorePay does that, and again, the vendors can choose to get paid whichever method they'd like. So if they want to stay on a virtual card, if they want to stay on a check, they'll stay on a check. If they want to go to virtual card or ACH, they can kind of switch over to those options there. It says, how do we, next question, how do we know or handle a check if a vendor has not cleared or gets lost in the mail? Do we stop payment? Yes. So you would have access to a portal in which you can see the status of those payments and whether or not they've been cleared or not. So if a vendor does reach out to you, you can take a look at that cleared status, see if it's on there. If it has been cleared, maybe you pull the email remittance up and say, hey, this is the payment that was issued for this invoices or these invoices. It looks like you cashed a check. Maybe it was something that they mistyped on their end, or some sort of an internal mistake, or if it was truly lost and not cashed, you can issue a stop payment. They can reach directly out to you and you can initiate it with CorePay, or they can reach directly out to CorePay and get it reissued. They will have a direct link to the vendor services over at CorePay if they'd like to reach out, because even if they don't get the payment, they still do get an email remittance that has the payment information on it with reference numbers and such, to where they can get that resolved if there is any issues. Question here is, does CorePay allow you to use your business Amex, Home Depot, or fuel? So this isn't like the credit card or card payments that are run through the system. They aren't using your internal like account numbers for checks or your guys' bank for pushing payments directly to the vendor, or even your credit cards. They sign up with like one time, they'll get a check. Again, it comes through CorePay, or if they do sign up with virtual card, they get a one-time virtual card payment that is run through MasterCard. You guys still do get cash back, but it's not your internal credit cards that would be being used because they are processed through the system. So I do see another couple questions here on the virtual card, but that's how it works. So payment gets issued if they sign up with virtual card. They get the remittance with the virtual card information that they can run internally on their end, and receive that payment. It is a one-time virtual card link for the exact dollar amount of the invoice. So there is some fraud prevention, and just making sure that there's not any kind of issues in terms of actually accepting payments for wrong dollar values when getting the virtual card payment. Okay. Only other question here, we have is one on some lien waivers, and then also on signing parties when it comes to signing off on the payments. So we do, if there are lien waivers involved, you would need to, for the time being, process those lien waiver payments internally. We do have a secondary release coming out in the second quarter for bill pay that is going to allow for like an approval slash release process within the bill pay, which means it'll get posted out of foundation, and then there's a secondary approval process that can be turned on. For a lot of our clients, they don't really need a two-step process in terms of posting that payment. And for owners that still like to kind of put their last sign off on the check before it gets processed out of foundation, we will be, that approval process will kind of act as a sign off function as well when we do have that released. So the posting out of foundation is kind of you guys finalizing it. What we see a lot of clients do is they're kind of, have a trusted source or admin that does the final posting to make sure that everything looks good. But again, in the future, we're going to have a secondary approval process to where it can get posted and then get routed to an approver that would kind of, give their final sign off on that release. And that can help with lien releases. But for, again, if you guys do lien waivers for subcontractors that you're working with, you would need to get those lien waiver signed internally and then process potentially those payments internally for the time being. So some functionality. I'll say it's a smaller portion of the greater companies that we work with that need that functionality. So that's why we decided to kind of roll this out without it just yet. But we do have it slated for second quarter for basically a secondary approval process built within the bill pay portal, which will give a secondary sign off option, as well as a way to better handle some lien releases through the system. So next one is, can they revert virtual card into their checking account So I mean, virtual card payments, it really just the vendor gets to choose, and if they can get a virtual card payment, that means they probably have some like point of sale system that they're able to process credit cards internally on. So if that happens, they can process those. But again, they're not forced to move on to a virtual card or anything of that nature. So if they're able to run those internally, we can process those through as a virtual card payment. Again, no one is forced to use that virtual card. But if the vendor does accept it, that is kind of how that would work. So it looks like we've gotten to all the questions. Again, I want to give like one final like overview here and recap of what we chatted on. The foundation vendor payment services, again, is a simplified payment solution that's built directly within the foundation system that uses the same selection process that you're already using. You select which vendors you'd like to get paid. You fund those payments, the invoice payment directly to Corpay, and then Corpay turns it around and pays your vendors, does all of the onboarding in terms of setup, account verification. It reduces the burden on your AP in terms of back-end processes of handling printed checks, reissues, long reconciliations, positive pay file uploads, and everything of that nature. So again, it just streamlines that entire process, offloads the back-end payment process from your AP so that you can reallocate that time a little bit more effectively. Like I said, what I've heard from some people is upward of 40% time savings on AP when kind of offloading this service. And then, besides all of those benefits when it comes to fraud savings, potentially check savings when you're not having to cut checks internally, as well as time savings from an AP perspective, we do oftentimes find a lot of clients offsetting costs or making some money on cash back or rebates with the virtual card spend through the system if your vendors do convert, which again, we do typically see about a 10 to 20% conversion rate there. That's a quick rundown here of our bill pay system. I appreciate everybody jumping on. My email is on the screen here. If you responded to that poll incorrectly or just want to make sure that you get someone to reach out to you, you can send me an email directly at dkilpatrick@foundationsoft.com. If you filled out that poll and said yes, one of my team, my colleagues will reach out to you to try to get like a further demonstration set up or call where we can review this stuff a little bit further. Sorry that I'm not able to give exact pricing on a webinar like this. Again, it is volume based. So to get any specific pricing for your platform, I do need to jump on a call or set up a short demonstration or really just a follow-up call from this webinar if you do want to get specific pricing for your company. So appreciate everybody jumping on here today and hope you guys have a great rest of your day.